All right, guys, we are back. This is Off the Edge 44, episode 44. Man, we've been doing this for a while. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Cameron Lynch, the dude making all these weird hand gestures and everything to break the ice. How you doing, Cam? Glad to be talking yet another NFL week. We got week 5 now. Week's flying by.
Week 5, I think the overreaction Mondays are coming up, pretty soon here. I'm looking forward to getting ready for that. But to be honest, Jake, it's getting to the point now in the season where, okay, the first quarter is done. Now it's like, okay, we're battling for playoffs here, right? Each win is going to count. And if you don't win, your ass might not be in the playoffs. I'm looking forward to talking about some of those teams that may not make the playoffs this week. Or this year's in general, because they're in danger, right? They're not winning games. They're turning the football over. I.e. the Vikings, I would like to see them, move the ball a little bit better and hold on to the football. But really looking forward to diving into this. And, yeah, I mean, the Bears and Washington football team game last night. Excited to talk about that as well.
Absolutely. I think when you look at this new kind of structure that we're doing, for those of you who don't know, we're going to highlight 5 key games this week. We're going to really dive into them instead of trying to just fit every game into one episode. Dive into those 5 games, and then we're going to talk about 5 teams that are in some trouble and need wins this weekend. Before we do that, Cam, I got to tell you, Underdog Fantasy has been bailing me out this year. It's been a lot of fun. Playing Underdog Fantasy. You got, of course, you got your Pick'em, you got your weekly fantasy. So tell them where they can go to get in on the action.
Absolutely. You can start playing Pick'em or weekly fantasy for any sport today. User will receive 100% deposit match up to $100 if they use promo code OTE at sign up. Start playing Pick'em and weekly fantasy football today with Underdog Fantasy.
Fantasy, that is absolutely right. Any sport can. If you're like, yeah, you know what? I missed the bus on NFL. Well, you're wrong there. You didn't. You got plenty of weeks left, and you can do playoffs as well. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is you got MLB playoffs. If you want to, you're like, hey, I'm on the couch. I'm trying to get interested in the game. I have no rooting interest. You can create a rooting interest, right?
There you go.
And you could do the same thing now. Hockey's coming up. NBA's coming up. There was a huge trade with Damian Lillard. So, you want to get in on that. There you go. But another place you can go as well is betonline.ag, which is your number one source for all your betting needs this season. Get the latest odds, lines, and match reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. It continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting in your favorite casino and card games, available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today, get in on the action, and use our promo code Bleav to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. Cam, we're starting with the game last night. Bears 40, Commanders 20. Okay, wow. I picked the Commanders in this one, and I'm not going to lie. What the hell was that?
Dude,
I don't understand.
After the Eagles matchup, you expect the Washington football team, Washington Commanders, to really blow the Bears out. I mean, at this point, right, we talked about it. Luke Getsy, a little bit pedestrian in his play call. I think that's like the tagline. Luke Getsy, pedestrian play caller. Well, to be fair, he won last night, so shout out to him. But we have some thoughts about that, right, Jake? You mentioned some of his play calling was a little suspect, but I mean, it's only week 5, Jake. It's only week 5. I feel like our emotions are like this. They're up and down right now. So hopefully we can get to even keel here.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have Overreaction Monday because there was a Thursday night game. So we're talking about Overreaction Friday here. So Justin Fields goes 15 of 29. I got to tell you, this year more than ever, I don't care about completion percentage. I do not care. I'm going to just preface it right now with that. Anthony Richardson went 11 of 25 against the Rams, but he was amazing in that game, right? Like, he kept them in that game. He led them back and made an overtime game. Justin Fields is the reason they won this game, as well as DJ Moore. You can say what you will. I thought the defense played pretty well in this one, despite the fact they almost gave up 400 yards to Sam Howell. But they sacked Sam Howell 5 times. You talk about TJ Edwards, the free agent signing from the Eagles. Really good pickup. Greg Stroman got a sack. DeMarcus Walker got a sack. Yannick Ngakoue, Rasheem Green. So you love to see that. I thought they definitely did a nice job. The defense was definitely a lot better than what we've seen as of late. And I just think, like, you look at Washington, it's like, man, they were at home, Cam. You're telling me that you had the Washington faithful there, and they're all excited. They're getting dapped up. They're getting ready to see their team. They're tailgating. Oh, we got prime time. This team's not bad. It's 2-2. They're 2-2. We just, Amazon. We just played the Eagles tough, and you're telling me you come out to a 27-3 27-3 deficit at halftime. Like, and now, I mean, you got to make some crazy comeback, and you're at the mercy of the Bears, who did a nice job. I mean, I don't think they ran the ball enough with Khalil Herbert. He averaged 7.6 yards per carry, and that's incredible. But, I want to know what the hell was Washington doing? I mean,
I'll tell you.
From the get-go, man, they didn't really run the ball. It was like, oh, Brian Robinson, 6 carries for 10 yards. Well, that's not going to work. It's like, well, you have Antonio Gibson. Like, try to figure it out. Don't just stick with that guy. If they're shutting it down, go somewhere else. And I just don't feel like they did a good job of that. They instead were like, all right, we're going to have Sam Howell, who is susceptible to getting picked. I mean, he had 4 picks against the Buffalo Bills. We're going to have him throwing 51 times, Cam. That's not conducive to winning football.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what happened, Jake. You talked about he threw the ball a lot and, hey, had 400 yards passing. I know we mentioned that, but the Bears defensive backs, right, they're out of commission, right? They're out of commission. They have some guys out. But Terrell Smith, a 5th-round cornerback, stepped up. He had, only allowed 4 catches and 5 targets for a total of 28 yards. So he shut it down on that end. But the other guys on the back end weren't doing so well. But, Jake, I will say this. You talked about it. You said Washington football team came back against the Eagles, forced overtime, and then ended up losing that game, but played a great game. But, Jake, you think about like a health meter, right? You think about a health meter. You playing Pokemon, you think about a health meter. Well, going into overtime against a division rival, and then you have to turn around and play on Thursday again, that's really tough, right? And you think, okay, hey, it's the Bears. We're just going to trample over them. Well, after playing that game, that health meter has gone to about 75, right? Okay, on Sunday, health meter's at 75. Then you have to turn around and get ready and be game ready by Wednesday night, Jake. And that's really, you got Monday, you got Tuesday, you got Wednesday. You really got 2 days to get game ready. And to be honest, that's not enough, especially against a team that just competed in the World Championship. So I will say that their energy battery was deflated. I think Magic Johnson tweeted about it. He said, hey, we had no fire tonight. We had no fight until the third quarter when we made adjustments and we were able to make a somewhat of a comeback. But it was too late by then, Jake. But I do think that their battery was at 75. It wasn't to where they needed to be. And the score showed.
Yeah, it's upsetting. You'd like to see more. I think unfortunately, primetime just has not been great this year. I mean, we gotta address the elephant in the room. Primetime has just been really bad. And this game had way more points scored than any of us could have thought. I think there were people saying, is this game going to be 5-3? It's like, it felt like it was going to be ugly. I think it was 24-21. I had Washington winning. I thought it'd be a close game. I didn't think they'd get blown out. I didn't think they'd get blown out at home. But I have to give a shout out to a guy on Washington, a guy we've talked about, Chase Young. 11 pressures. Ooh. He was all over Justin Fields. Now, Fields didn't flinch. Fields did not flinch. He only got a half sack on Fields. Fields only was sacked 3 times. But you got to give credit where credit's due. And Chase Young, man, they might be deciding to sign the wrong guys, because if Chase Young is him, if he's back and he's healthy, 11 pressures, I mean, this guy's not done. He's not. I think too many people are forgetting this was the 2nd overall pick. We didn't take his 5th-year option because he's gotten banged up a little bit. I still disagree with the move. I think you had to pick that up. You made a 2nd overall pick investment in him. But, I mean, I think Chase Young, the 11 pressures there, he was by far the best player on the defensive line. And then, you look and it's like, I don't know what Bieniemy and Ron Rivera are doing here, because, you look at Sam Howell and it's like, I know they were really, kind of spacing out the targets here, but man, Jahan Dotson, this is a guy who's supposed to take over potentially and be even bigger than McLaurin. I just haven't seen it. And we know he's capable of it. He had a bunch of touchdowns last year, but I got to tell you, Washington's in trouble. because I think it's definitely fair to say that. Right now they're 1-2 at home. They do a really poor job of protecting home field. They have one win at home. That's the Cardinals game, in which they honestly could have lost. It was 20-16.
Yeah.
They have another win against the Broncos. But aside from that, they've gotten crushed by the Bills. They stayed in the game against the Eagles, rivalry game, and that was on the road. And then they go against the Bears, who hadn't won a game, and they lost by 20. So upcoming, now, things are going to get a little bit easier for them before they get harder. And that's something to keep in mind. But keep in mind this, Cam, okay? They still have another matchup against the Eagles. Like, you do have the Giants coming up. Falcons, we'll get to them. But you got the Falcons and Giants, okay? You could win those two games. Those are winnable games. The Eagles, in New England, it's never really easy to win in New England, especially against Bill Belichick on the road, young quarterback. But you got Seattle. You got 2 dates with the Cowboys, another one with the Eagles, like I mentioned, the Dolphins, the Rams in LA. The Jets, I mean, by that time, who knows? Are the Jets still playing for something? If they are, that could be a tough game down the road. And then you talk about the last 2 games of the season, Cam. The 49ers and the Cowboys back-to-back. Washington's in trouble, man. I'm just going to say it right now. I don't think Ron Rivera makes it through this season. I don't know if they necessarily fire him midseason, but I'm saying this is his last year as head coach.
Yeah, Eric Bieniemy needs to step up, right? And if he wants to step up as a head coach, this could be his opportunity to get that bump up. What I will say, Jake, they do have Jamison Crowder on their roster on the offensive side. Feel free to use him. I mean, he's a shifty guy. I think he played at Duke. So, hey, shifty guy, feel free to tap into Jamison Crowder there. And then I'll go Emmanuel Forbes on the defensive side, Jake. I know he got benched after DJ Moore went crazy, right? Hit a hitch route, went for 32. So Emmanuel Forbes started off strong, and I think he's just being a little inconsistent, Jake. I mean, welcome to the NFL. He's playing against great receivers, and he's getting embarrassed out there. So maybe, call Sauce Gardner and say, hey, man, how did you do it? Right? What did you do in the offseason? Just get ready and figure that out, because I know as a first-round pick, getting benched is not great. It's not a great feeling, especially against the Bears. So, to that point, Washington has to figure it out, because the first quarter is done. The first 4 games are done. Hey, or really 5 for them now. So now it's like, hey, we have to make the playoffs. Will we make the playoffs? Will Ron Rivera be here in the future? Emmanuel Forbes, what does my career look like? I don't want to be the guy that in college taking interceptions back to the house and now getting benched because of, mistakes on the football field. So hopefully the Washington football team can figure that out and tighten things up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think moving forward, Washington, they're in some trouble. I think the Bears, who lost 4 straight, they should have beat the Broncos, and they knew that. They might have found something that week. Definitely found something in Justin Fields. They lost a 10-point game to the Buccaneers, in which they were in that game. Yeah. Packers, at no point were they in that. Chiefs, at no point were they in that. Now moving forward, they got the Vikings. Then you have the Raiders, the Chargers. You got the Saints, the Panthers, the Lions twice, another date with the Vikings, the Browns, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Packers. The Lions, that's the one that really stands out to me. The Vikings could be tough, but this is not the toughest schedule. So if I'm a Bears fan, I'm feeling really good about this win. I'm really kicking myself about the Broncos game, but you move on, 24-hour rules in full effect, and you enjoy this win, 20-point win in front of everybody. Justin Fields has looked good the last 2 games. Yeah. DJ Moore's exploding, and the defense is starting to look decent. So now, apply that moving forward. You can beat some of these teams, and who knows? We don't know how the wild card's going to go. They're still in this thing. They really are.
Yeah, the Bears. I mean, wow. A couple of weeks ago, Jake, we were like, I don't know. And so it's a breath of fresh air, I think, for the NFL in general, to see a team that's been struggling supremely, right? You're in the news for, the cops, FBI's, you were raiding the house for one of the defensive court. It's been crazy over there. So this has been refreshing for the game of football. So really excited for the Bears and excited to see what they do for the rest of Justin Fields' career.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, totally agree with you. All right, Rams-Eagles coming into this one, 4:05 Eastern time game back at SoFi Stadium. Rams had a fun time on the road, I guess. They go 2-2 without Cooper Kupp. Played 3 out of 4 games on the road. The only game they played at home was against the rival 49ers, in which they were in the game pretty much the whole way through. The Eagles are 4-0. They're 2-0 on the road, 2-0 at home. Now they're back on the road here.
They're pretty damn
good. they're pretty damn good. You're absolutely right. But there is a little bit of a caveat here, and I think it's important to point out that the Eagles like to stick around in these one-possession games. Now, to be fair, they did kind of go into Tampa and really lay waste to the Buccaneers in that one. That was not even close.
Yeah.
But the Commanders game, going to OT, 34-31. You talk about the Vikings game, 34-28. Talked about the controversial fumble out of the back of the end zone. That could have been a Viking win. And then the Patriots game, 25-20. You had Mac Jones going toe-to-toe with Jalen Hurts, which feels like a far cry from now week 5.
Yeah.
But going into this game, Cam, the Rams, it sounds like Cooper Kupp is going to play.
So, nightmares for the Eagles, baby.
I think, well, here's the thing, okay? Eagles, for those of you who don't know, Eagles have a good run defense, probably one of the best in all of football, I would say. Fletcher Cox is out, to be fair. That means we'll see more Jalen Carter, though, who is probably, at this point, better than Fletcher Cox.
He ran a 4.3. Like, come on.
Yeah, he's a freak. So, I think when you look at it from that perspective.
Sorry, Nolan Smith ran a 4.3.
Well, he's still a freak.
Yeah.
So they're great against the run. The pass, however, injury to Avonte Maddox in the secondary has kind of opened up a little bit of a hole. Josh Jobe is out there playing corner and getting picked on. Matthew Stafford was picking on the Colts secondary until he got hurt last week and then was able to do it on the final drive in OT to win it. Now, Stafford, full participant in practice. Cooper Kupp, full participant. They look good coming into this game. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, getting Tutu Atwell open over the top, giving him opportunities he hasn't had. But Cam, there's an issue here. The Rams don't know who's going to play left tackle. And what I mean by that, it's not is Alaric Jackson or Joe Noteboom. It's neither of them might play tackle this week. They both have not practiced as of today. We're recording this on a Friday. They haven't had practice yet because they, of course, West Coast. But Thursday, not practicing yet, that's a little scary. So, Cam, there's a chance Warren McClendon, the 5th-round rookie from Georgia, who, to be fair, he's played tackle in big-time games. We're talking national title games. He might have to start.
He's going against Georgia Bulldogs, so it's perfectly fine. He's seen those guys in practice, so I think he's going to be fired up. I'm looking forward to this game, Jake. I know we had Simone on to Bleav in Rams to talk about the score. She said 42-17 Eagles. I didn't like that, Jake. I'm going to go 27-24 Rams because the Rams are going to maintain the football. I think when it comes to pressure, though, I think that's going to be the biggest factor in this game for the Rams. When it comes to the Eagles, I think they lead the NFL, right, with 65 pressures on the season. I think they're 6 so far, and the Rams don't do really well against pressure. So what I can see is you talked about the defensive backs for the Eagles not too healthy right now. So what I can see is Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell across the middle, a lot of those crossing routes that they've been successful at. Matthew Stafford completing. I think when it comes to that defensive line, we discussed it on Bleav in Rams, but Kyron Williams and Ronnie Rivers have to slow down that defensive line, whether it's the screen plays, those check down passes where, hey, I'm going to check it down by the defensive line and force them to take the angle and run down the field and tire those guys out, because that's the only way Matthew Stafford is going to protect the football is if he can get out of his hands quickly. So it's going to be a long game, Jake. I think it's going to be a long game. The Eagles just looked away from the Washington football team. So I think they're licking their wounds from that one. So hopefully the Rams can capitalize on it.
Yeah, and I think, really the key here is you got to worry about DeAndre Swift. I mean, you got to be able to defend him. I think the Rams defense is going to have to defend the run. They are pretty much middle of the league in run defense, which, by the way, isn't bad when you have 32 teams in a league. That's around 15, 16. So not bad. Their pass defense, however, is 8th, and we've seen it. Callo's played really well. Jerion Kendrick surprised us. I mean, Russ Yeast is really killing it at the back end of the secondary. Really an enforcer out there. And then, of course, Jordan Fuller had the forced fumble that was huge in that Colts game. So you look at it and you're like, okay, like the secondary's playing well. Now they got to be able to put pressure on Jalen Hurts, though. The Eagles run the ball more than anybody in the league, 35 run plays a game. they average. So this is a team that wants to run the ball. And what the Rams are going to have to do, because they do have to run the ball with Kyron Williams and Ronnie Rivers, but in order to get that going, they will have to throw the ball and open up the run with the pass. And I think this is going to be a very similar type of script to the 49er game. The Rams knew they weren't going to be able to run it that well against a really tough front of the San Francisco 49ers. So what you do is you come out with the pass, you show them, hey, we're going to throw this ball and we're going to succeed. And when you succeed, now all of a sudden things open up, because now it's like, okay, I have to play a little bit more back. I have to have more guys in coverage. I have to really make it hard on Stafford to make these reads. And so now what that does is naturally you're going to have a lighter front. When you have a lighter front, it's easier to run the ball against. And so I think that's when Kyron, Ronnie Rivers, who, they complement each other well, I think they'll be able to get things going. But on the Eagles side of things, this is a huge test because, you have one of the best quarterbacks in football in Jalen Hurts, and I think he's healthy now. So I'm just saying, I think it helps the Rams win up against a guy like Anthony Richardson, kind of simulating what they're going to see with Jalen Hurts. But I think it's definitely fair to be this game could go either way. I'm going to go with you, though. I'm going to go literally 27-24, like I predict on Bleav in Rams. I feel good about this game for the Rams. I think the Eagles, they're winning these close games, but I think they've shown, little issues in the chink in the armor, like I said in the last episode, is that secondary. And I think really when you look at Stafford and just the way he's playing, the stats don't indicate it. He's played so well this year on film. I just went through and watched all of the Rams Colts game in all 22 last night, and I was just so impressed with some of these throws that he makes and before he got banged up. He's good to go now. Like I said, not limited at all. The question is left tackle, but I think that they're going to be okay. I think one of those guys will play, and if Warren McClendon has to play, I still think they got a shot. I know it sounds weird. I just don't want to see Zach Thomas out there ever again.
No, Zach Thomas and have to just take some notes on this game. Jake, what I will call out on the defensive side, specifically for the Rams to win this football game, Aaron Donald, we need you to go off like you always do, right? The big players make big plays during big games. So I want to see that from Aaron. Byron Young, I want to see him turn the corner, Jake. I know he's been providing pressures and all that, but let's see him take that leap, right? When we see him take that leap, strip sack, Jake, some of those big splash plays, we'd like to see that. Our guy Hoyt as well. I think I talk about it every week, Jake, but I think he will be targeted. DeAndre Swift, I think is going to be eyeing him up, right? Hoyt's going to be dropping back in coverage. He's going to be coming back on the line to contain. And I think the Eagles offense is going to take advantage of that, Jake. What I'm going to call out right now are those boot reverses, right? So a lot of times for defensive ends, you call it CBR rule, cut back, boot reverse. When the play is going away, you think cut back for the run for DeAndre Swift. You think boot for Jalen Hurts coming around, and then reverse. I think Michael Hoyt has failed at that these past couple games because he has to then cover wide receivers as well as a curl flat player. So he has so many rules in his mind as defensive end that I think they're getting mixed up, and I do think the Eagles are going to take advantage of that. And so I can see that this week, those reverses, whether it be Devontae Smith coming around a reverse or Swift coming around for that cutback, but I do think that's going to be exposed, and he's going to have to tighten that up on that end. And I think on the offensive side, I talk about it, big play Van Jefferson. He has to come through because Puka and Tutu and maybe Cooper Kupp, if they're out there, they're going to get double team, triple team, however you call it. And I know the Eagles defense is saying, hey, Puka Nacua is not going to have a 100-yard game this game. Let's make sure he does it, which he probably will. But I think we have to figure that out on that end. And Van Jefferson has to come across and play football because the trade deadline is October 31st. So he's on notice, 20-something days to play the proper football, or things will change.
Yeah, and I think you look, the Eagles side of things, I think they can run on the Rams. I think DeAndre Swift is, one of the best running backs right now in the league. Christian McCaffrey had success on the explosive run. Kenneth Walker had 12 carries for 64 yards week 1. Joe Mixon pounded the rock until he got in the end zone. Not a great yards per carry game, but what it did is really just shut down that defense over time, eventually just wore them down. And then we saw Zach Moss, how they get back in that game, the Colts game last week, reestablish the run. Rams are giving up 4.4 yards per carry, 111 a game. That's considered middle in the league. Really what they're going to need is Jonah Williams, I think, to really step up and continue playing the way he is. He's a top 5 defensive lineman this year in run stop rate. So he's been absolutely on his A game. He needs to continue that. And we're not really sure whether Cam Jurgens is going to play or not, but I still think the Eagles offensive line being one of the best in football, they're still going to show out. They're still going to show out. Jalen Hurts is still him. And so, you and I both have the Rams winning this game close, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles won at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, Jake. And to be honest, that pass rush, I think the overall factor will be the pass rush. The Rams offensive line have to stop it to win.
All right, so Chiefs head to Minnesota, one of the best, in my opinion. I mean, I've never been there, but just like from the outside, US Bank Stadium looks like one of the best.
It is. Their skull chant, Jake. They beat the drum and they have the horn blowing. They go, skull, skull. And
I've seen that. Yeah.
I know the Chiefs do the tomahawk. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
That's fire. With Taylor Swift in the background, we get it.
Yeah, is Taylor Swift going to be there?
You never know. I mean, who knows? But it's Minnesota, so probably not. She's probably in New York City doing her thing.
Yeah. So this game, Cam, you and I might have different thoughts in this. I have kind of bold thoughts. The Vikings finally got a win against Carolina. Kirk Cousins is one of the best quarterbacks this year. 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, over 1,200 yards. Madison got going on the ground. Cam Akers looks good since they picked him up. Justin Jefferson makes 150-yard games look so easy. It's like insane.
Yeah, best receiver in the league right now. Let's just say that.
He's unreal. And I think he's on that level where you were talking about, like OBJ someday could pass Jerry Rice if he keeps it up. Justin Jefferson, if he keeps this up, he's going to be the all-time. Yeah. And that record I thought would never be broken. And keep in mind what happened to OBJ, though, the injuries. So he's got to stay healthy. But
records meant to be broken. Christian McCaffrey, to be fair, just broke Jerry Rice's record for 13 touchdowns or 1 touchdown in 13 consecutive games. So, hey, it's a new generation. Offensive coordinators are mixing some stuff up. So, hey, it's cool to see.
It is cool to see. What else is cool to see is anytime you get high octane passing attacks going against each other. Because, I mean, we as humans love high scoring. I don't know what it is, but we just love it. I mean, maybe not you because you're a defensive guy, but at the same time, it is somewhat fun to watch. You have to admit. I mean, like, man, if this game comes down to the wire, talking 45-45, you'd sign up for that. Like, you'd sign up for Kirk Cousins going toe-to-toe.
Rams and Chiefs when they had that shootout in LA at the Coliseum. Like, those are the games you want to see for sure.
Exactly. That's not what I think we're going to see.
No.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry to get your hopes up there. I mean, the over-under is 52.5, so strange things have happened, but the over-under for a 45-45, like, we'd have to get closer to like 70. Okay, it's probably not going to happen. So, all right, here's what I see. I see a Chiefs team that is a little underwhelming. They're 3-1, and they did go up against, in my opinion, the best team of the NFC in the Detroit Lions. I think they can win the Super Bowl this year, and it was at home, but I think the Chiefs have looked a little lackluster. They're 3-1, and not all 3-1s are created equal, just like not all 1-3s are created equal. You look at the Chiefs, 17-9 against the Jaguars. I don't really know what the Jaguars are, if I'm being honest with you. 23-20 against the Jets. Okay, we'll give you the Bears, the 41-10 blowout. You're supposed to do that. The Jets game made me think again, because this is a Jets team that everyone bailed out on. Okay, the defense is great, but you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Kelsey, you got, Pacheco. We've talked about Pacheco before. Like, it just doesn't feel like they really have, like last year it didn't bother them. This year it feels like it's really bothering them not having another like Tyreek Hill there. I feel like they're actually starting to really feel the effects of that. And I think it's going to get worse because Kelsey's older. Like, people forget Kelsey is the same age as Rob Gronkowski right now. So, I don't really feel like they have that guy. Rashee Rice was a second-round pick, 24th overall in the second round, out of SMU. But it's like, is he ready to take up the mantle? I don't think so. So it makes me wonder if, maybe at the deadline they go and look at somebody. But Cam, I'm I'm watching this team. I feel like they need some juice. I don't feel like they have it.
Yeah, I mean, Kadarius Toney, like Sky Moore, Jerick McKinnon, like even Kadarius Toney, like trade deadline. I don't know what that looks like. I know the Chiefs just traded for him, so I get that, but it's a little wishy washy, Jake, like you mentioned. To be fair, the Jets game, Zach Wilson took care of the football. So that game was close because of that turnover margin. Zach Wilson took care of the football, and he normally does it. I also think that the Chiefs' defense isn't as great as it used to be. That's another thing. And then the third thing is Patrick Mahomes threw 2 interceptions. So at the end of the day, didn't take care of the football. Therefore, you're in a tight game against the Jets, and the Jets' defense is outstanding. The Vikings' defense, comparative to that defense, it's not, right? Let's call a spade a spade. Brian Flores has been doing a good job applying pressure, right? And Patrick Mahomes is going to have to figure that out this week. But the Vikings defense is not the Jets defense. So that's why I have a feeling, Jake, that this game is going to be a bit different. I think Patrick Mahomes is pissed right now, right? The fact that Zach Wilson outperformed him, he didn't like that. I think this Chiefs team is going to run it up against the Vikings, depending, Jake, if the Vikings want to give the football up. Because Kirk Cousins, I know you said 4 interceptions on the season. He threw 2 last week, so maybe he throws some this week. Who knows? But the turnover margin is going to be the biggest factor of this game. But I think the Chiefs are going to take it away from the Vikings on this one.
So it's interesting. Kirk is having a great season. Madison gets going. Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, a lot of sins.
Yeah.
Defense.
It's a sin that they're not winning as much as they should be.
It absolutely is. I think the defense has shown you some things. Danielle Hunter has been awesome. But here's the thing, though. They're in every single game. Every single game. It's a far cry from last year because every single game they were in, they were the team that won every one possession game last year. Every single one going in the playoffs, and then they lost. And it's like there's been a curse put on them where they're 1-3 in one possession games this year. And so I look at this game and I'm like, we know it's going to be close. They're going to stick with them. They have the ammunition to do that. The Chiefs don't look that great, in my opinion. They don't look like a true 3-1, I'm going to go win the Super Bowl again team. But it is hard to repeat. That's something to keep in mind. And so I'm going to say this. I think the Vikings are going to win this football game. I think the Vikings are ready because they're 1-3 right now. It's now or never. Okay. Yeah. It really is. To lose to the Chargers the way, Brandon Staley went for it on his own 30, basically giving you, almost putting you in the red zone, like when he missed it. To lose that game stung. To lose the Eagles game the way you did on the road, you weren't expected to win, but you were expected to compete, and you did that. But it's just the fact, you fumble out of the back of the end zone, the touchback really throws it off. And then the Buccaneers game, week 1 is week 1, right? Sometimes you win them, sometimes you lose them. They lost. So in reality, the way I see it, you come out, you beat the Chiefs, you got the Bears. Maybe this is the worst time to play the Bears right now that they're actually building some momentum. Yeah. But you got the Bears, you got the Niners. That's going to be a little difficult. But then you got the Packers, the Falcons, the Saints, the Broncos, the Bears, the Raiders, the Bengals. You got the Lions twice and the Packers. So I do have an issue about the Lions twice, but the Vikings could win. They could rip off some wins for sure. And it starts with this game. And this is how you change your season. A big win against the defending Super Bowl champions. Everyone has, put a target on their back. Anyone who wins the Super Bowl knows the next year you have a target on your back. So I'm going to take the Vikings in this one. I'm going to take them 34-31. And the reason being is I don't like the way Patrick Mahomes is playing right now, but I don't necessarily blame him. I don't think the weapons are that great. I think they're finally starting to feel the effects of not having a Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce is really it. Right now, the leading receiver on their team is Justin Watson. And I like the guy. Okay, I interviewed him at the Senior Bowl. Yeah. Went to, UPenn, which you love that. Small school guy. But at the same time, it's like, I got to be honest with you. This Chiefs team doesn't impress me as far as the weapons.
Yeah, hey, Eric Bieniemy, are they missing Eric? What does that look like? The scheming, they're not as explosive. You said you're not as impressed with that team. Is that a factor? We don't know. The Washington football team looked a little dangerous, right, against the Eagles. Last night against the Bears, they didn't. And so I know they're figuring it out on that end, but is Eric Bieniemy being missed here, right? Is Tyreek Hill being missed here? We don't know. But what I do know is that the Chiefs do have a Hall of Fame coach in Andy Reid. They do have a Hall of Fame offense on that side and also a defense. So I do think, Jake, that they're going to win this football game 33-27. When it comes to the Chiefs, I know we talked about this, and I stood up against them or for them when they played against the Lions. I'm like, they're the Chiefs, know whether to lose against the Lions, and they lost. And so you picked the Lions week 1, and I picked the Chiefs, and you got that one right. I have a feeling this game, it might be the same thing where you're picking the Vikings, you're going against the grain, I'm picking the Chiefs. So, we'll see here, Jake. But what I will say, though, is similar matchup. You got the Eagles versus the Rams, and the Eagles should blow the Rams out, similar to the Chiefs should blow the Vikings out. But, I picked the Rams on that matchup and not the Eagles. But this one, I'm going with the big dog. I'm going with the Chiefs on this one to win this football game against the Vikings. And, yeah, I think Kirk Cousins has a great game. Justin Jefferson has a great game. But I think they just turn the ball over, and I don't know if that's conducive to win later on this season. So, I think the Chiefs take this one away, Jake. And like I said, maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
We will see. We will definitely see. I think right now the Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites on the road. Vikings getting that disrespect at home, but to be fair, they are a 1-3 ball club, and they have not won at home, which is weird because I look at them as kind of a home team, right? Like, this is a team where you see Kirk Cousins, you see him playing, at that stadium, US Bank Stadium, and you're like, okay, give me Kirk Cousins, but now it's like, I don't know. It's a good, opportunity for Patrick Mahomes as well. Get out of the elements there in New York. You had some time, albeit, it was a Sunday night game, right? So, it's the same thing, really. I mean, it's not like a short week or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, he's heard all the stuff about the referees and everything. I think he's tired of it. He said it on a radio station. He said, like, with all due respect, like, Sauce was holding him. So he came out, and we never hear that from Mahomes. So maybe he was a little pissed off, and you're right. Maybe he'll go and use the Vikings as a stress ball. But I'm gonna take the Vikings here. You got the Chiefs, and we move. Okay, Sunday Night Football. We got the Dallas Cowboys 3-1, 1-1 on the road, taking on the San Francisco 49ers 4-0, 2-0 at home. Yeah. Cam, this game is huge because this is when you get into these type of battles. First off, the rivalry itself. These two have a lot of history with each other. These two rivalries, these two teams and the fan bases. But the second thing here that's most important is you talk about a 3-1 Cowboys team, 4-0 49ers team. Okay, yeah, we lost to the Cardinals, right? But you can put that in the mirror, the rear view mirror. If you win this game, now you guys are tied and you have the tiebreaker. So when we get into tiebreakers and getting that number 1 seed and having that bye, I mean, it's a lot of games you have to play. We saw the Rams; they played more games than anybody in NFL history. Because they won the Super Bowl and everything. So, Rams and Bengals. But here's the thing with this, it's like, I know it's only week 5, but this could be the deciding factor. Going into this, Dak Prescott, I thought, he's done a nice job taking care of the ball. He's also been very, very limited because he hasn't had to do a ton because the defense has done so much. This is not the game where you can be on autopilot. This is not the game where you can get an A+ on the group project that you didn't put as much work as another person, right? This is the game where all hands on deck comes into play if you're the Dallas Cowboys on the road. At Jerry World, it might be a little bit of a different story. You get the crowd going, the giant video board and everything. Okay, now we're cooking with gas. But like Tony Pollard, he's going to have to go. He's going to have to get the run going. This 49ers team is no joke. They are a Super Bowl favorite right now. Brock Purdy is playing mistake-free football. And what I mean by that, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He only missed one pass went incomplete last week. He's playing the Kyle Shanahan offense as well as anybody could. And, you look at, Christian McCaffrey, best running back in the league, doesn't look like he's ever going to miss a step. Brandon Ayuk is healthy again, which is a good thing. So, what are you thinking, Cam? What are you thinking going in this game?
Man, it's going to be spicy, Jake. One thing I will say, though, I'm looking forward to this specific matchup, Jake. Micah Parsons, Trent Williams. Trent Williams likes to fight, and Michael Parsons is someone that he's going to have to, hey, get ready for eat your Wheaties, Trent, right? Because I know Trent, mind you, Hall of Famer, walking Hall of Famer, one of the best tackles in the league. I get that. But Michael Parsons is also Aaron Donald's, the next one in line. I know you talk about Jalen Carter being the next one in line. I think Michael Parsons like, hey, don't skip me, buddy. So Michael Parsons, Trent Williams matchup, I'm really looking forward to that. The defense for the Dallas Cowboys. I know when it comes to the Diggs brother, I know he's hurt and everything like that. So they're figuring out how to take the ball away. And so I think this game is going to be, hey, who can take the ball away the quickest, right? Who can be on the field the longest? Who can play keep away? And that's going to be the run game. Who has the best run game? And you immediately think about it, Tony Pollard, Christian McCaffrey. Who's going to run the ball better? What's that look like? Well, to be fair, the 49ers have a wide back in Deebo Samuels, who is now a running back at times as well. So I do think that the 49ers have a better run game and a better run attack. Therefore, I think they're going to be the victors in this game, Jake. I do believe when it comes to the Cowboys, I know they had a loss recently that was like, hey, what the heck is going on? They're figuring it out. But the 49ers have been too consistent too often. I think they have buried teams, essentially, specifically the Rams that we're talking about, Jake, where the Rams are in the game until the second half. They let up a score, and then they get buried in the second half. I think the 49ers are known to do that. And the Cowboys, Brandon Ayuk, I mean, how are you going to cover a guy like Deebo and Brandon Ayuk, Kittle, Christian McCaffrey? Like, it's going to be too tough, I think, too tall of an order. So I got the 49ers in this one, Jake. I think it's going to be a 3-point game, 33-30, 49ers calling it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because very rarely do we get to actually say this early in the season, but these two teams have played two common teams. They both have played the Giants and the Cardinals. They both have blown out the Giants. Oh, actually, the Cowboys lost to the Cardinals. They both blew out the Giants. And both in prime time. So the Giants lost 30-12 to the 49ers. Giants lost 40-0 to start the season to the Cowboys. They beat the Jets 30-10, the week off of Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles. Then they lost to the Cardinals 28-16. And then I don't know what that Patriot game was, but man, that was nasty. 38-3. They just imposed their will on the Patriots. Whereas I thought the Cardinals played decent football, and 35-16 doesn't indicate how well they played. They are, and we talked about this off air, Cardinals are not a good second half team. It's killing them, quite honestly. They get off to good starts, and then they slow down. In this game, you mentioned the run game. I think what I would like to see from the Cowboys is, no matter how you feel about Brock Purdy, and I think he's somewhat overrated, but he's also somewhat unfairly treated and underrated. And what I mean by that
boy's damn good.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback, not elite or anything like that, but he's a good quarterback. He runs a quarterback-friendly system. He is super Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion. I'll call him Super Saiyan Jimmy Garoppolo for the Dragon Ball Z fans out there. So, you got Super Saiyan Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that's not a bad thing. Like Kyle Shanahan, he fits his offense. One thing, though, with Brock Purdy, we haven't seen him really face adversity except for, and really he didn't get a chance to because he got hurt with the elbow. We haven't seen him face adversity in a game. If the Cowboys can come out and they get pressure on him and they throw him all over the field, and now the Cowboys are up 10-0, 13-0 or whatever, I think we're going to learn a lot about Brock Purdy in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, and to be fair, I know there's an interview that just came out. He lives in San Francisco, has a roommate and all that. So I know adversity on the football field he hasn't faced, but he faces it each day living in San Francisco with the offensive line room. No, I'm just kidding. I think you talked about facing adversity. I think with someone like Brock Purdy being Mr. Relevant, I think that's adversity being slapped in his face from the jump, and I know we talked about the injury when he got hurt with the elbow. You're right? It's like when you get punched in the face, what are you going to do? I know you mentioned Jake used to box back in the day. So it's like when you get punched in the nose, like how are you going to react? And it's not only punching the nose, but it's a Micah Parsons punching the nose and at will punching the nose, right? Because Micah Parsons at any time can say, hey, I'm going to give you this hook, and it's probably going to knock you out. And so how can Brock Purdy take that right hook to the temple, that knockout punch each series, right? Because Michael Parsons each series, one play each series can easily deliver that knockout punch. So how can Brock Purdy get up from that? And what I will say, Jake, is he has some other guys that can throw punches as well. I mean, if they get into a game, Jake, where they can't run the ball, they have to start passing. If you put Christian McCaffrey in the slot, I mean, dude, if they go empty and the Cowboys have to defend them and put all defensive backs back there and motion them back in the backfield to then run the ball, it's going to be trouble. So, like I said, I think the 49ers got this one, man. I mean, the Cowboys, great team and all like that. You know, got our guy Gilmore back there to hold it down. But I don't know if they'll be able to – Brandon Ayuk is healthy. I mean, bro, you think about – we didn't even mention Deebo Samuels like that. We're talking about Brandon Ayuk. So, the fact that he's healthy now, man, is –
George Kittle?
We didn't talk about Kittle.
He barely did anything last week, but Kittle is one of those guys, man. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh. You throw the card out there and you're like, all right, it's Kittle time, and then there you go. It's like, he's got the trap card. No, for real. I mean, with George Kittle, he can pop off for over 100 yards in one game and then be quiet the next game. He's such a team guy. He's not going to complain about targets, and he's getting paid, so he's really not going to complain about targets. It's not like it's hurting him. He's already so he's a team guy. He wants to win and everything, which is why this whole thing works. So Cam, I look at this, the pass protection of the 49ers is the worst unit of either of these two teams, any position. And it's not because of Trent Williams. It is actually because of that right side. Okay, you got Colton McKivitz and you got Spencer Burford. And I really like Dallas's opportunity there to rush off the right side, get to Brock Purdy, push him around, and get him to make a turnover or two. And if he does, then this game gets flipped on its head. The Cowboys are so rock steady. They don't really have, it's not elite everywhere, but it's really good most places. And so I think because of that, they really have a good opportunity here. I'm still going to take the 49ers here. I'm going to go 27-20. I think they're the better football team. They're at home. I think Brock Purdy is going to do a better job of taking care of the ball than Dak. I do think Dak is going to get pressured because we talk about the pass rush of the Cowboys, but I mean, the pass rush of the Niners is probably the best in all football from a broader perspective. So when I look at that, I mean, the Cowboys right up there, number 2, I would say. But the 49ers pass rush is insane. And it doesn't even matter if you have good pass protection, which, to be fair, Dallas does have. I think they'll be able to get through. I think then they'll have the crowd rocking. It's a Sunday night environment. I'm going to take the 49ers in this one.
Yeah, and Jake, you think about the defense, man. I mean, just the defense, Fred Warner, what he brings to the table, the safeties, the DBs, Hufanga. I think, and Jake, I want to call this out. Was it the recent week that Hufanga got that someone at the end of the game, someone put their hand in his throat? What game was that? Towards the end of the game, he was beefing with somebody towards the end, and they put their hands in his chest. I'll have to think about that, but I think Hufanga, he has some spice to him, and it's really good to see, right? You think long hair, he's a nice guy like a Troy Polamalu, but no, Hufanga, he has some fight to him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him perform. And like I said, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Javon Hargrave. I mean, dude, good luck. Good luck, Dak. Good luck.
Absolutely. So that's that. You and I both have the Niners taking the game.
There you go.
All right, Cam. So these teams are in trouble right now. I'm going to go through this list. We're going to talk about it. We'll start off with the New York Jets, 1-3. They have a chance to really right the ship here. They probably should have beaten the Chiefs. They know it. They feel that way. Zach Wilson just played maybe the best game of his career. They're going against the Broncos. If they lose this game, I think we're calling it quits on the Jets going to the playoffs, and Rodgers probably should just not come back until next year. But where are you on this?
Yeah, call Cam Newton if they don't win this game. I know Cam said he wouldn't go if there was not $5 million on the table, whatever it is. But call Colin Kaepernick, Cam Newton, whoever you want to call God, because the Jets are going to be in trouble big time if they don't win this game.
Yeah, so you and I are definitely in that boat. Jets better win against the Broncos. The other one, the Vikings here, maybe a little unfair against the Kansas City Chiefs. Although, if you haven't seen our previous, spot in this show or video, then you don't know. But I picked the Vikings to beat the Chiefs. Okay, yeah. I think they beat the Chiefs. I think they protect home field. They have not won a home game this year, which is not like them, especially in an awesome stadium like that. You owe it to your faithful there. I'm going to take the Vikings in this one, and I think if they lose this game, it's going to get pretty tough for the Chiefs. Pretty tough for the Vikings, excuse me. They're really going to need this win, I think, to carry that momentum moving forward.
Yeah, moving forward. We talk about being in trouble as in the playoff run, right? Because we're after the first quarter, so the playoff run will be tough. But I do think the Chiefs are going to win this one, right? Brian Flores versus Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid's going to win this one. The offense hasn't looked as explosive because Eric Bieniemy's not there anymore, but I still think that the Chiefs are going to win this one because Patrick Mahomes is pissed about that win against the Jets, and Zach Wilson outperforming him. So Patrick Mahomes is going to put it to the Vikings, I think.
So 2-2 Falcons here. Good God. 2-2 Falcons here. Desmond Ridder. First off, he's in trouble. Okay, not just team. Desmond Ridder. It's all nice and everything when you go 2-0, but now you lose 2 straight. The way they looked in London, not good. Very flat. Now you're going up against the Texans team with a rookie quarterback that really has a chance to show up Ridder here. That's not a good combination here. Falcons have too good of a defense right now to go 2-3 here, and they have way too many weapons. Cam, this is a must-win for Atlanta, and to keep up the pace with the Buccaneers and the Saints, mind you, they started Derek Carr, who was hurt last week. They are going to have to 100% do that moving forward. So I'm going to say that right now. The Falcons are a must. They're in a must-win situation in week 5.
For those who are on audio and not watching, there was like a thumbs up bubble that just popped up. And Jake was like, what the heck is that?
I have no idea what's happening at this point. That's happened now multiple times. I have no idea.
That's actually really cool. Hopefully it happens to me. But no, you're right, Jake. I do think for the Falcons and Texans matchup, if Desmond Ridder does not win this one, then Taylor Heineke, I know he's licking his chops, Jake. I know he's getting ready to go. I called it before the beginning of the season. I can't wait to see Taylor Heineke start for this football team. Don't know when it's going to be, but it might be after this game if CJ Stroud shows up the Falcons for this one, because he's looking like rookie of the year right now. So we'll see what happens.
On Bleacher Report, what were we saying? The Texans, they should trade for Chase Young? That's where we're at right now. CJ Stroud has completely changed most people's opinion on the Texans, and we're only in week 5, and it hasn't even started really yet. So that's something interesting there. 1-3 New England Patriots are in trouble. If they lose to the Saints, call it. Just trade everyone. It's over. Bill Belichick, go out, tank for Caleb Williams, go out, get your guy. Be the Popovich to the Wembanyama. Like that's where I'm at that point, because it's just not working. You don't want to keep being the 6-10, 7-9, 8-8 squad, okay? And if you lose this game, that's not where you're going. So I think they need to come out. They need to come out firing. They need to really show, hey, Bill, we got this. Otherwise, Josh Uche, guys like that, they're out the door.
They're out the door. And to be honest, Bill Belichick as well, right? At this point, It's like, hey, is he coming up on an expiration date? What does that look like? And so Mac Jones as well. At the end of the day, Jake, when you don't win, it goes from top down. And, hey, Tom Brady might have been right? He might have been the person that's been driving this organization to these wins. But the Patriots are in trouble. Full stop. Patriots are in trouble. And like you said, if they don't win this game, Jake, to the Saints, if Jameis Winston decides to step in, right? If Carr, depending on how that goes, if Jameis goes in and wins his football game, they're going to be calling for Bill Belichick's head, because, quote unquote, that should not be happening. So the Patriots are going to be in trouble, Jake. And hey, there's some coaches that need head coaching positions, and why not Bill start to groom that next coach to take over this Patriots organization, because it's not looking good, big dog.
You know what else isn't looking good? My Super Bowl pick. I had the Bengals winning the Super Bowl. They're 1-3 right now. I felt pretty good coming off the win against the Rams. Despite the fact I like the Rams, but it felt like, a change, move in the right direction. And then they go out and they lay a complete egg against the Titans. And I don't even think the Titans are that great. So this is not good for the Bengals. They're playing against the Cardinals and Josh Dobbs. If Joe Burrow, I don't care how hurt you are, my guy. If Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, if that's not enough, then I don't think anything is. And I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year. I think this is just a bad year with the injuries. They have to win this game. And if they don't, then they might have to mail it in.
Yep, and similar to the Eagles, right? When Jalen Hurts wasn't getting A.J. Brown that football, Joe Burrow, he needs to get Jamar Chase the football because he went on national TV and was like, I'm always effing open. And that's really a shout out to the quarterback and offensive coordinator. Like, hey, I love you. We played ball together at LSU, but if I don't get this football, I might not be on this team next year, right? And you talk about the Bills as well with Diggs and Allen. You love them, but if you don't get these receivers the football while they're running these routes against these defensive players and getting smacked and whatnot, if they're wide open, throw them the ball. If not, someone else will do it. So, hey, you're right, man. It's not looking good for the Bengals.
Last team in trouble, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unfortunately, first off, Mike Tomlin wanted to make changes, got the Pittsburgh faithful all excited. The changes were not getting rid of Matt Canada. He said it'll be some schematic things. Matt Canada has to go. He's the worst offensive coordinator outside of Luke Getsy in the NFL. So the Steelers right now are in trouble, Cam. It's not good. Pickett with the bone bruise. You got Dan Moore out. I just read off the injury report off air to you. It's Pat Freiermuth. Hell, even Presley Harvin, their punter is out. So it's not going right now for the Steelers. It's not a great sight. Offensive line looks bad. The defense is going to suffer now because they're on the field a lot because of the abysmal offense. But it doesn't matter because they have to beat the Ravens or this could go south really quickly.
Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky, let's go. I mean, next man up. We'll see what happens, and to have your organization in those hands, it's like, all right, guys, we gotta figure this out, right? Because the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, they want to make the playoffs. They want to make a run there in the future, and they're not going to be playing games. They have a lot of guys that are hurt as well. When I talk about the Ravens, so we'll see what happens. But you're right, man. The Steelers, we thought out of the draft, they had one of the better drafts. We love their picks, and they're not performing. And they're not performing. The defense on the field too long, and that's not winning football.
So the average team to this point going into week 5 haven't played a week 5 game yet, Cam. You'd have them right around probably 90 points scored. Here are the teams that I just mentioned at the bottom. The Bengals haven't scored 50 yet. They've only scored 49 points. Abysmal. The Patriots have scored 55. The Falcons have scored 62. The Jets have scored 62. And then you have what was the one that we were just talking about? The Steelers, and they've scored 62. So it's not a great time right now to be a Steelers fan. And really, at this point, you have to start to wonder whether it's fair to Kenny Pickett or not. What do you do here? Because if they're bad enough, this season, maybe you're just like, all right, let's put these guys on IR and let's just put the young guys in. Let's see what we have, because you can't just keep going kind of the Patriot way. You can't keep going 7-9, 8-8, 9-7, be competitive and not win it. Like, you have to take advantage. And I think the Steelers, who were one of the hottest teams at the end of last season, had a lot of people thinking, okay, this team is going to really emerge, and this, including myself. And now the question is, if they can't turn this thing around, albeit they're only 2-2, it's not like the end of the world. But if they can't turn this around and it starts to get ugly, you could be looking at, Shadur Sanders, Caleb Williams.
Tank for Shadur. I was literally thinking that when you were finished your thought, I was like, tank for Shadur. Have him as a backup, right? To learn from Kenny and call it a day.
I think they're kind of in that predicament. I mean, 62 points isn't acceptable, and the unfortunate thing is I'm not even really for it. I think Kenny Pickett is that guy. I think he can be that guy. I think Matt Canada is a joke. I really do. I think he's really hurting a young quarterback's ability to win this league. I think he's making him doubt himself now in his second season, and you hate to see it.
Yeah, my thing is, we talked about Shadur Sanders. The reason being because Mitch Trubisky is now the quarterback, and we love Mitch. I just don't know if the Steelers are going to be able to win with Mitch like they can with the Caleb or Shadur. So that's why we brought up Shadur Sanders there.
Yeah, and maybe they go Michael Penix or somebody. I think there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks in this draft where they'll probably have their pick of the litter. But yeah, those are those are the teams we're worried about. Those are the teams that are in trouble. Figure it out, guys. If you don't, well, there's always next year, and we'll be talking about you a lot come draft time. Oh, boy.